whatever we don't have and someone does, we feel like it's superpower because it's so hard for us to do it. So we're like, wow, it's amazing they can do that. But conversely, we forget that people also think, they also admire the things that we do.
Right.
But we, again, was that shame thing that we always hide behind. And I think that's the fun part about Working Genius too, is we don't have to apologize anymore. Welcome to The Roll Call, the podcast where we dive into the roles that define us. I'm your host, John Glahn. On each episode, we explore the journeys of people discovering their true roles in life, business, and beyond. Get ready for inspiring conversations about finding purpose and authenticity. Let's roll the roll call. Welcome, everyone, to The Roll Call. I am John Glahn, and I have Julie Lunsford. All are present and accounted for. Let's start the roll call.
All right.
So, Julie Lunsford has been, we can call it many different terms, but my right-hand woman for a number of years now, who by happenstance we stumbled across each other in an executive assistant virtual role, and it just kept going from there.
Yes, it's been quite the journey.
And so, this podcast is about the roles that we play as entrepreneurs in all of our lives. And we have Julie on here, one, because of the many roles she's played in my life, but also as she is stepping into her own entrepreneurial journey.
Thanks
as
to
she
you.
sits and looks.
Thanks to you.
Yes. No, I promise you're doing this, right? So let's just start there. Julie, who are you and what are you doing here?
So I think you've been a huge catalyst in my world, and I think at the time that we were intersecting, there was a lot of upheaval and chaos in my life, and you and just kind of like your community of people kind of introduced to me a different way of doing life, and so I felt like I was in a mode of lacking or not having enough, or what is it, the opposite of abundance? When we're saying like we're thinking in a deficit kind of a way.
Yep.
So you have kind of just led by example in that, and then as you were noticing that maybe executive assistant wasn't probably my passion in life, that kind of evolved in a way of me working with a coach and her suggesting that, and at the time I felt like it was a 4-letter word, and she was very gentle in telling me, I believe you're a visionary.
Yeah.
And then that space kind of just started opening up for me. And so Working Genius, you introduced me to Working Genius, and it took me a really long time to believe that I should or could be working in my joy and that actually mattered. But once I drank that Kool-Aid, it started to make sense. And again, it just put another piece to the puzzle as I was going along.
So what role do you think you were playing when we first met?
I was in survival mode, and so I felt like I just needed to do what it took to survive.
Yeah, as a single mother of four beautiful girls.
Right. So I'd worked and been a mom and a wife, and then I had come home with my third child and had been a stay-at-home mom, a homeschooling mom throughout that, and then kind of got launched back into the workforce with the divorce, and was really just going to do whatever it took to put food on the table at that time. And then just as people were noticing what I'm good at, what my talents are, and kind of boosting me up, and it doesn't have to be survival mode. And then just the abundance that is actually out there, and the mindset that opens up. I know when you were talking on your other podcast with Armando, talking about you get what you're looking for, right? And so now it's all out there because I'm looking for it.
Yeah. So you've been, since I've known you, mother was like your first line
Yes.
right? The amount of ease you put into parenting, it means a lot of effort, but you don't. It doesn't come across as painful
Right.
or the work. You know, most people. One, I have 4 children, but I have a wife who does a great deal of the work, and to be doing that solo. And throwing them all in a car and driving up to Detroit to come to our,
Right.
Our company meeting, was just like, we're just going to go do this. And, we're going to rent a house, and I'm going to find the babysitter that's going to help. And you just do it. And that's not a normal thing. Most people are looking for how hard it is, and they are looking for all the barriers. And that's one thing, and that, and a number of our other friends, mutual friends, professional friends, realize that you are just a super mom, which means you're superhuman, and but you do it with grace.
Oh, thank you.
And it's the fun part has been watching you realize that is not your only role. That's not your only identity, and you've been forced into that identity, that role, and so. And just to let everyone else in on it, we've had Julie doing 15 different jobs in our base company, Great Lakes Essential Power, and really just whatever the team needs. And you do have some very great things things that you're great at, was it people, HR, hiring, and that sort of thing. We've had you doing a menagerie of things while we were going through Working Genius.
Right.
And we went in knowing you didn't love doing the financial things. But you also love to learn, and
right.
That's been, on that has been because you learn so much. You don't say no to things.
Right. I will say, I'm willing to do anything, and but I've had to start asking myself, okay, yes, I can do this, but am I ultimately providing the greatest good by doing this, or could someone else do this better while I show up in the space where I feel passionate about and where I find my joy? And I do find my joy in being a mother, but it's definitely, I think it is beneficial to my children that that's not my identity, and that they are with me the majority of the time. I'm doing several things at a time, right? Mm-hmm. And so they get to see that, but they also play a part in the way that they have different personalities that show up with their skill set and what brings them joy. And so we have our own little mini corporation, at home, where we're all bringing it together, and they know that it doesn't all rely on me, that they are a necessary part of the household, of the family, and overall the journey, and holding me accountable. Because I told you the other day when I was doing something that obviously I don't enjoy, one of my daughters was like, don't you tell us that we need to be living and working in our joy?
Oh, such a pain when they call us out.
Right. So, and finance, being in that role, was helpful to me to know different levels of business and have an understanding of that. And also, it's not my joy, as in, if someone else could probably do this quicker than me and have a different strategy than me, that would be for the overall good. Can I do it? Do the results happen? Yes. But are they happening in the most efficient, effective way? Probably not. Yeah,
right. And so let's talk about what your new venture is.
My new venture. I feel like this is my Working Genius testimony, because this is why I want to offer it to whoever can
it's
benefit
being recorded,
from it.
So
Right. So Working Genius to me showed me that there's a way that work is being done, whether we are noticing it or not. And so if you have wonder, invention, discernment, enablement, tenacity. Did I skip one? Galvanizing. I always. Galvanizing is important. That if you have people living in their geniuses in that way that work is getting done, then the work gets done in the most efficient and effective way. And that is the way that I wholeheartedly believe that. And so if I believe that, then I need to show up where I am in my genius, and I need to find others to come in to those other geniuses.
What are your geniuses?
I struggle with my geniuses. So wonder is my genius, and then discernment as well. And so the reason that I struggle with that is because of the whole reason that I even struggle with the role of visionary. Mm-hmm. I have an affinity or a belief that tenacity that's what I'm attracted to, or what I believe is doing the most. Mm-hmm. And actually, tenacity has its place, but it's not going to happen without wonder showing up to say that there's even something that could or should be done differently here.
Yeah, we think it's a superpower because it's a frustration of ours. We mutually share frustration and tenacity, meaning we don't get shit done. We do.
See, that's so hard.
We share a genius in wonder, and which is why we also don't get anything done, because we love to sit and ask each other questions, and then I'll get frustrated with that question, and I'll just ask a different one, and so I don't have to answer it. And we just don't get things done. And so I think what's the fun human, the part that's fun about working genius is learning that, we think that whatever we don't have and someone does, we feel like it's superpower because it's so hard for us to do it. So we're like, wow, it's amazing they can do that. But conversely, we forget that people also think, they also admire the things that we do.
Right.
But it's that shame thing that we always hide behind. And I think that's the fun part about working genius too, is we don't have to apologize anymore.
Right. Exactly. So I know that I'm bringing something to the table, and if I come in my genius, then I'm offering up the most of I'm participating in work, whether I believe it or not. And I think one of the more tactical ways that this was presented to me is that we work with someone that loves spreadsheets, right? Mm-hmm. And I do not, but I'm in them way more than I want to be. And anytime I interact with her and she's like, oh, I love spreadsheets, I love doing spreadsheets, it baffles me. I will never understand it. But something that would take me an hour to do, she can do in 10 or 15 minutes. So why wouldn't she be doing that? And then she has come to me with things that she struggles with writing an email that is efficient and gets the communication across. So why wouldn't we use each other in that way instead of saying, well, her role is to do this and my role is to do this, so we're not going to cross those lines. Why would we not try to be more efficient in and she's enjoying, she loves it. Right. So why wouldn't we offer that to somebody?
Happy cows make the best cheese.
That's right.
I love that.
So.
I think the beautiful thing about Working Genius also is that it's not just an assessment, a personality assessment. There are hundreds of them out there. They're all valid. They're all relevant. Working Genius doesn't replace any of them. The difference is it's a productivity assessment,
right,
and working with others. And so so in your new venture, what exactly are you doing? Because anyone can just take the assessment for $25. It's pretty straightforward. And you'll get and everyone that reads is like, yeah, man, that totally makes sense. I get it. But what are you doing beyond that to help teams?
So I feel like Working Genius has a language and a vernacular that is not being used in meetings. And a lot of times people are probably going into meetings in the back of their mind thinking, why didn't that person get that thing done that I told them to do a week ago? And judging them for that. I am bringing up animosity or resentment that's going to come out in that meeting. There's going to be people that are going to be overly vocal with what they're concerned about and people that aren't going to say anything. Overall, nothing's getting done in that environment. But once you get the language of, okay, you show up here in wonder, that's your genius. You show up here in tenacity. There's discernment that we need to vet some of these. Once you have that language, then you can say, oh, well, that's why this person is not showing up, or this is why this is happening. And there is a vernacular with that. So having the language of, all right, we need you to show up here in wonder, and using everybody, let me back up. Everybody is going to have to do something out of their genius every now and then. But if you are able, if people are giving you the leeway to come in and use your genius to the best of your ability and most of the time, then you can take whatever project or problem is being presented in a meeting and say, okay, we need wonder here, we need invention here, and then getting it all the way down to tenacity. And you're not saying, wonder why, if you're in wonder, why didn't this happen? Well, we already know why it didn't happen, and if there's somebody else here that can do that better, then let's let them do that. And let's not judge them for that because they're not like us. And having that, it's also very simple language. You don't have to read a book on somebody else's personality to know how they're going to show up in a meeting and how you should show up.
Right.
You can just see and use the language immediately and get results in a meeting right away and relieve yourself of feeling guilty of the way that you showed up and not judge others for the way that they showed up.
Well, and so also having the least amount of people needed for a meeting.
Right.
Right. And what's the meeting for, so that we can be as efficient to have most impactful in the least amount of meetings possible.
Right. And keep people out of there that don't need to be in there, or bring them in the last 15 minutes, or whatever works for getting things across the finish line.
Yeah, because the old way is, hey, if everybody gather around. We got to come up with some good ideas.
Right. And some people are cringing at that and having anxiety about that. And so why put them through that?
Right. Because the majority of, the work that gets done around the world, like the work actually getting done is the majority of people, right? In the tenacity world or an enablement. And I spent a great deal of my time as a leader of company getting so frustrated that, come on, why can't anybody else come up with ideas? But totally discounting the fact that we need the people, just because they don't come up with ideas, they're the ones getting everything done. And so there's immense strength and power in each and every person fit in the right place of the work. And so it really changed my lens of appreciation for everyone in the organization, because it doesn't make anyone better than anyone else just because they come up with good ideas, but they can't get anything done.
Right.
And so having that team fit together, to me, is this, it's amazing seeing the beauty of it and the simplicity of it.
Yes. And it gave me permission to say, I'm not good at this. And there's a cringe fear factor to that as well. It's like, well, if I'm not good at this, is there something else that I should or could be doing? And if that's not available, then what do I do now? But in that questioning, it just opened up other doors of opportunity to say, okay, maybe this chapter needs to close here, and that's okay. I have the information now, and now I know how to go and present myself at my best. So one, I want to share the information of Working Genius, but there's other roles that I can play in life, knowing this information, and not feel terrified of doing that. I feel like you, and the way that you have run the company, and then the people that are in your world that you've introduced me to, have just given me a lot of permission to say, this sounds crazy, and crazy is normal in this world. Like it feels scary and terrifying, and yet you can't unknow, what you know.
Yeah, and I how strange is it to try to go do something you love?
I know. It's
right, instead of out of necessity.
Right.
So your new this is us pushing you over the cliff, over the edge here. What is Julie doing at the end of 2024?
Okay, so for one thing, I have this key around my neck, and it has my word for the year on it, and so it's wild. And so 2024 is a lot of unknowns. However, at the end of 2024, there's a new season opening up for me, so I want to be fully in that season. And I don't have all the information right now to say what that is. And 2023, Julie, that statement that I just made would have put me under my pillow in the covers over my head for days.
Right.
So that in and of itself is a wild and new thing. But I want to be fully in that. I want my children to learn from that we don't have to see all the way down the path in order to make those steps and even some of those leaps. So I would like to be one, fully embracing the unknown more so than I am now. And I would like to be fully into the season that I feel like is unfolding for me. And I don't have all the information on that yet, but 2024 is proving to be very wild. I'm in New Orleans right now, and a week and a half ago, you were like, hey, you want to go to New Orleans? And I just was okay. Yes. Why not?
Yeah.
And then my belief is if things easily come together like that, like you asked me that, and I was able to make it happen in an easy way where I wasn't forcing things, then I believe that's the way it's supposed to be. So this is where I'm supposed to be right now.
I love it. So what does facilitation look like for Working Genius? What service are you providing that's above and beyond just taking the assessment?
So we've worked with a few clients with Working Genius, and just like anything else, when people are busy or have other things, and this sounds like a novel idea, we are noticing, or I've noticed, the traction isn't taking place afterwards. And so I've got my Working Genius facilitation certification, and so you get the basics of how you present this to people. But then I feel like everybody has a unique way, even based on their geniuses, of taking a company through this. And so seeing this gap of, oh yeah, we love this, and then 2 months later, we actually haven't been using this. It's still great. We still believe in it, but we're not using it. So I believe that there is education that needs to take place. And again, it's very simple, very immediate. So you can implement it right away if you choose to. So I want to offer one, accountability, but also to come in and just consult and lead in a way of experience, I guess you could say. So just following up with clients, figuring out where the gaps are, where they're not using this language. And also, if you are operating in your company in this way, if you have actually taken it on, then you want to make sure new people are coming in and filling in those gaps where you're missing the work. So I am kind of brainstorming right now how the hiring process needs to come together with the full team in order to build something. I feel like there's more Working Genius is a foundation, and there's more building blocks there, and that's what I ultimately would like to offer.
So so what you're speaking to is, obviously we did a facilitation for a large company down into their departments, et cetera. Again, it's raging success during, and we get great accolades.
Right.
But then, just like with anything, it can be the flash in the pan, the flavor of the month. And if there isn't a mechanism to keep that going forward, it gets lost easily.
Yep.
And and I'll just, speaking from experience, right? That's just about, especially coming from a visionary who would come back to, me being a part of Vistage, come up with an idea, and I come back to the company, and everyone's just like, yep, all right, John got another idea.
Yes.
We'll just give this a shot, and then we'll just give it 3 weeks, and then it'll be done. Which is just turbulent, right?
Right.
And so coming with the solution that can help integrate it long term, I think that is the secret sauce.
Yeah. What comes to mind to me is I'm fluent in Working Genius. And if you're just learning the language, then you need someone there to actually use the language, immerse you in the language in order for you to actually be implementing it and using it.
Yeah, and I liken it to on my new journey, which is Bloom Growth Coaching, which is business operating system implementation, like scaling up, EOS, et cetera, right? They all have their different flavors and different things, and I'm realizing that my target market are people that have tried to do it on their own.
Right.
Because I think that in life in general, in, again, sharpening your own saw, et cetera, or trying to do an initiative within a company, having someone else do it, a third party do it, I'd love to, I'd hope someone can make up, maybe we can dub in like someone with the actual correct stat here in a different voice than mine. But you say like, it's got to be like a 10x output, having someone that is skilled to facilitate. Because again, I've been around plenty of companies that have tried, and I've done these things myself, whether it's trying to implement an operating system on their own. They get whatever they read in the book. So they're doing some version of it, so it does help. But then when they have someone who's skilled and understands and explains to them, what the actual intent is behind why you're doing this, it's like, I love the bells and the light bulbs that flash in their head, and like, oh, that's why. And just having, and it's not just me, but it's just having someone that like helps pull that in. And they don't have to think about it and work on it on their own. Like the owner coming in, like normally that's what happens, right? A visionary comes in, they're excited, and they come in. And, I'm going to try to help everybody get it. And then they don't see it through. And then they spend so much time worried about figuring out whatever it is they're trying to teach that they forget that there's a company being run. And so having someone in that can just show up and do it for you is an immense service that that sometimes you have to hit your own head against the wall 15 times to get that, right?
Yes. And I mean, I haven't run across anybody that's like, I don't understand this working genius thing, or no, they want it, and it is a matter of someone being kind of a neutral entity, not the visionary coming in with another idea, and kind of and walking through that. And I enjoy the language of working genius. It comes out naturally in my circles, but my circles aren't necessarily educated in it, and so I see the value in it, and not putting it on the visionary. I know several people who for their companies have gone and gotten certified, but they are not. It takes that. Like I said, that fluent person that is, using this on the regular.
One thing that I love that you have always, since we were started doing this, always had a flair or an intentionality around hiring, right? Because I know that there's a big chunk of your background in the HR space, but still today, it's like you're always trying to wrap it around and where we think, and I think it's an immense help because hiring is the hardest part of a company. Right, and arguably the most important because, one, it's hiring the right people in the right manner, so you're not doing it over and over and over and over again. But also, it's the culture of the company.
Right. And you're making very big, bold decisions on very limited information in an interview process. Honestly, it's very difficult to do that. And then, so my genius of discernment also comes in to play there. I'm a believer in gut reactions and gut responses. I am a believer in my gift of discernment. And when someone, like just recently when I was recruiting, they were calling it a front desk ninja. It was beyond like a receptionist. But I could easily pick up before anybody did an assessment, like this person is passionate about enablement, and they are going to want to help, I can feel the tenacity and the way that they want to get things across the finish line and how that brings them joy. And so me knowing the vernacular and also having that gift of discernment and that genius of discernment is helpful for me in the interview process. And I'm passionate about investigating people, not in a way of like uncovering their dirt, but I am passionate about getting to know people generally. And so these are things that I'm passionate about that come natural to me. And once I saw Working Genius and saw how it applied to me, I just have this vision of connecting the dots with the hiring process as well.
And one thing that I know that was a major shift that we'd help with companies with was with the description. And this was, again, kudos to you. Are you interviewing and asking people based on what they love to do?
One of my favorite questions is, what brings you joy? Another favorite is and people struggle with telling me the truth on this. It's like, what is your ultimate dream job, or what was the thing that brought you joy, or what you wanted to be when you grew up as a kid? And those are very telling for culture, and are they really going to thrive in this position, and what are they going to bring to the table in this? And so if there is a team map where there's geniuses missing and we're hiring for this position, then we want to look at what that position, what geniuses matter most, but also what this person is going to bring to the team in the work that they're going to do, where we're missing maybe invention or something along those lines.
Right, because it's not about just their job. It's looking at the holistic picture, what the company does need, regardless of their technical skills, right?
Right. And so for me, the things that don't bring me joy, that are part of my role, I am going to procrastinate in. And so I need to know that as hiring for someone as well, what is this person going to push off the most in this position? Because yes, they can do these things, but if they're going to not find the topmost responsibilities in this position as a priority to them, then it's not going to work.
Right, and I think that there's a major mind shift with the right companies. They get it very quickly when they see the value in Working Genius, because they truly care what people think and what they really enjoy doing, and therefore they're going to be better at it. But I just imagine that's why people have a hard time answering that question, because wait, but I'm interviewing for this job, and I don't want to get myself out of this job. But to have them and the company realize that you're asking that silly of a question, are they supposed to really care if they enjoy it, or are they supposed to do a good job? It comes out of people. I know you've said this before. You can see it, right?
Right. They there's body language to it, and they start talking faster and with more of a passion, and it does matter. It does matter, just based on what I was saying about the procrastination as well. And you're doing both people a favor by not hiring them, even if they can do the job.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So my budding entrepreneur, Julie, as you're stepping into this, what is one of the key failures that you've had, and what'd you learn from it?
So something that I've noticed with you, and then conversations that we've had with other colleagues and professionals, is the personal is going to come over to the professional one way or another. Personally, I try to show up authentically in every space. But so for me, the failure of my marriage was probably one of the biggest kabooms in my life, where I fell flat on my face. And it wasn't even just that the marriage didn't work out. I didn't trust myself anymore to make decisions. If I made such a colossal, there's not a regret in my marriage, but as far as doing that, but if I was not able to make that big of a decision in the correct way, or it failed because of I went that direction, then I suddenly needed, in that survival mode, I couldn't pick out a paint color. I did not trust myself on any level. And then also, when you take out that person that you've been focusing on, you're left with yourself. And so that failure led to me tanking on decisions and not showing up well, and learning from that once, and I don't know what really flipped the switch on that, but now I had to look at myself and vet where my weak spots were. So I was able to improve on those because there was no one, I couldn't say, well, this is your fault. It's on me now. And somewhere in that, I started trusting myself again. Once I knew what my weaknesses were, once I knew what my strengths were, knowing how to show up, believing that joy matters, and has me showing up as my best self, I now trust myself with those decisions. And not only that, I am okay with moving forward and possibly failing and learning from that again. That's part of the process. That is now okay. And it doesn't mean that I can't trust myself, because I am learning from it.
That's awesome. Because we're letting other people decide what is good and bad for us.
Yes.
Right? Or what a failure might be.
Well, and then I can blame, if I don't make the decision, then I can like, well, you're the one that, told me to do that. Well, no, now I'm just going to use what I know to make the best decision and then learn from that, as I go on. And I want, if there's anything that I would want to pass on to my children, and that is, let's not do it scared. Yeah. Like we may fail. There's several things that are going on in my life right now that are unknowns. And I had one child ask me, you're going to do this and you don't know the outcome and you don't know what the plan B is. And yes, and we're going to do it. And somehow, there's history here that shows that we land on our feet.
Absolutely.
So we'll just keep going.
I love it. So everyone out there, let's help Julie in her journey of leaping into entrepreneurism as a working genius facilitator. How can we find you, Julie?
Let's see. Do you want email? What?
Yeah, lay it out there. Your LinkedIn, Instagram.
Okay, so yes, I have Julie Lunsford on LinkedIn. Julie at myoperatingmanual.com. There's My Operating Manual LinkedIn as well.
Yeah. Let's help get the word out for Working Genius. Julie's the right mechanism to raise the tides of all. So thank you for being a part of my life, Julie, and the roles that you play in it and the roles that you play for your daughters and for yourself. It's been a pleasure having you. Everyone listen to the podcast. Follow us, like us, and look forward to seeing you next time. That's The Roll Call. Thanks for tuning in to The Roll Call with John Glahn. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe for more insightful conversations. Remember, discovering your true role in life is a journey worth exploring each and every day. Until next time, keep defining your path and living your authentic self. This is John Glahn signing off.